Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 4 of my favorite middle grade books with transgender main characters, because I think that it is so important, especially in America's current political climate, to support queer authors and queer stories, particularly stories that focus on the future of transgender children. And I've said this multiple times before, that I think the transgender community, but especially the children involved, deserve safety and love and healthcare and value and everything as much as their cisgender counterpart. And I know that I sound like a broken record, so I'm just going to leave that there. So basically, I hope that this video helps diversify your bookshelf. I hope that every single transgender person feels seen and heard by these stories and by these authors. I hope that these books, can exist everywhere. So anyway, without any further ado, the first book on this list is called Molly Out of Water. This story is a middle grade contemporary following a young queer main character who is navigating exploring their gender and regaining their magic after a hurricane forces them to move. This story is absolutely so incredible and it's so phenomenal, and it was one of my favorite books that I read last year. Maybe it was the year before that. Anyway, this author has a new book coming out in September and I'm literally so excited for it. I'm about to make my September TBR since I skipped my August TBR, and I'm just so excited to have a new list of new releases that I'm really excited for. But anyway, I digress. This book is fantastic. I loved the plot and the story and the characters and the free-verse format. Everything about this book was so good and so well done. I love a good, solid, character-driven, queer coming-of-age story because I just loved getting to know, the main character and everything that was happening to them, and their emotions made so much sense. This book is fantastic, and I just really enjoyed it. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Flicker. This story is a middle grade contemporary. Actually, it's not a contemporary because a contemporary implies that it's set in the current modern day, and this book is more of an apocalyptic sci-fi story because it's set in an imagined future, if I'm not mistaken, where a solar flare ruined Earth so that everything is ruined, basically. I don't know if that makes any sense, but instead of a zombie apocalypse or anything like that, it's caused by climate change. I don't know, the world building was really interesting, but basically this story follows two step-siblings who are trying to find their indigenous grandmother, and I think this book is so good because I love the exploration of indigenous ideas surrounding gender and everything. This book is so good, and I loved the relationship between the two main characters. I love them individually as well as together. It was so good. I love the plot and the world building and the transgender non-binary representation. This book was excellent. And I think this story is so underrated, and it's so good. I loved it so much. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Ollie in Between. This story is a middle grade contemporary following a young non-binary main character who is asked to define womanhood for a school assignment, which sets them off on a journey on what that really means. This story was so good. It's one of my 5-star favorites from this year. I read it in April, which, first of all, feels like it was so long ago, even though it was literally only 4 months ago. I remember being so excited for this book because the definition of womanhood is so incredibly subjective. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to gender and everything like that. Not even in terms of transgender, but in terms of cisgender people as well, because it's so subjective and it's so individual to every single person, and then bringing a queer perspective into the conversation, it's so individual and it's so personal, and I knew this book would make me cry, and it did. Like, I absolutely love it. I love the exploration of gender and everything. Like, this book is so fantastic and it's so excellent. I think it's so important and so relevant to everybody. I think it's so good. And I absolutely loved the characters and the plot and everything. The characters really felt honest and messy and human, which I think is so important when it comes to queer representation and diverse representation in general, because it is so important to normalize queer experiences and really humanize queer people. You know what I mean? Anyway, this book is excellent and it's phenomenal. So with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Camp Prodigy. This story is a middle-grade contemporary graphic novel because, of course, there wouldn't be a video of me talking about queer middle-grade books without including a graphic novel. But anyway, this story follows two non-binary main characters at a summer camp navigating identity and anxieties. This story is absolutely so fantastic and it's so much fun and it's so lighthearted as well as being deeper as well. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was so heartwarming and so good. And I love stories that are set during camp or school or something like that, that allows like young characters to explore who they want to be without like necessarily their parents' expectations or their parents' presence. If that makes any sense. I don't know if it does, but anyway, this book was so good and it was so well done. I just really, really enjoyed it. First of all, I loved the illustrations. The art itself was so good and so vivid. The story is so well done. I love the characters individually as well as their friendship together. The plot is excellent. Everything about the story is absolutely so fantastic and it's so good. This book deserves so much more hype because it's excellent and it's fantastic and I just really, really enjoyed it. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called Wishbone. This story is a middle-grade contemporary horror following a young transgender main character who identifies as a demi-boy, and basically he has a magical cat who grants wishes, except that now there are consequences. Does that make any sense? I talked about this book last week, so I feel that my review for it might be redundant. But for those who are new, this book is excellent and it's fantastic and I loved it. I loved the plot and the world building and the characters and the friendships and his relationship with his sister and everything and how natural and normal the queer representation was. This book is excellent and it's fantastic and I truly loved it. I think it's so good. I think it's really, really marvelous and really well done. And I think it's so underrated and it's so good and so well done in literally every single element. I had really high expectations for this book because I've read multiple books before by this author, and actually I believe Justine has a new book out next month as well that I'm so excited for because like this book was excellent. So anyway, I digress. Basically, I would definitely highly, highly recommend this book. So in conclusion, to add on to what I was saying at the beginning of this video, I think that all transgender children and everyone of all ages deserve safety and love and value and healthcare, and they deserve accessible media that features people like them in every type of medium, but particularly when it comes to books and stories and movies and TV shows and songs and music and everything. And also, like, maybe all bathrooms should be unisex. Like, who cares? Anyway, I digress. Basically, if you enjoy this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the butterfly emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!